Okay, so we are live. Let me just make sure the YouTube is also live. Okay, we are actually live.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so shall we? Okay, so let's just start this thing. Okay. So as this is my name is Farouk Turjuman. I think some people knows me, um, in person. Some people doesn't know me. I am the person, the crazy guy who makes the video in the PowerShell actually community. And with us here today is Heiko Brand. So Heiko is the expert from the ScriptRunner, and today he's with us, so he will give us, actually he will tell us, about PowerShell, and he will also tell us about he will tell us how valuable is PowerShell, but with ScriptRunner we can make PowerShell more valuable. So I think, Heiko, you are ready to start.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Farouk. Thanks a lot for having the opportunity to talk about PowerShell in general and our script runner solution. I'm going to share my screen and so
Let me. Okay.
yeah.
So
So
yes. Mhm.
yeah. So as I said, I want to talk a little bit about, of course, PowerShell in general and what you can do with it. What you can do with this great technology and how ScriptRunner can help you to even achieve more. So I have a few slides, and then I also want to show you the solution in action as much as possible. So the
Uh, Hi- uh,
agenda.
Heiko, just before you start, I just forgot to mention something. This session will take place in 40 minutes. Okay, or maximum. So we don't want to make it too long so that people can also, digest. And we will have a small time for questions for anyone who have questions. So if you have questions about the script runner, you can put the question. Of course, keep in mind, we will not answer all the questions, but we will try our best. You can send the other questions to Heiko on his Twitter account. You can guys see it on the screen, and you can also go to ScriptRunner website and have a session. Book a session with Heiko to 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 have more information. And if you have other questions about the community, of course, you can reach me through the YouTube channel or through WhatsApp, uh, uh, the WhatsApp group, or just simply contact me on LinkedIn. I will put my LinkedIn profile link at the end. So yes, please, Heiko, you can carry on. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. So the agenda today is two topics. One is I want to talk about PowerShell in general and why automating with PowerShell is a good idea. And then I want to also, of course, show you how you can use PowerShell together with ScriptRunner to start to develop, manage, and delegate PowerShell in a more organized slash professional way. So ScriptRunner, we are based in Germany. We're a team of 25 PowerShell enthusiasts, and our goal is to accelerate your automation journey. And so we've been around for a few years already. And so the main goal is to simplify the way that you develop, manage, and delegate your PowerShell scripts. And what that actually means, I will show you in more details during this session. So a little bit about me. I'm With ScriptRunner for 3 years. I'm in the IT industry for more than 25 years. In my spare time, for me, it's all about music. And here again, how you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, GitHub, or via email. And we are very much into supporting the community, the PowerShell community, the Microsoft community. And one thing that we are doing is we are providing for example, a free PowerShell poster that helps you in your day-to-day business with working with PowerShell, showing you how things work, like the pipeline or connecting to Active Directory or WMI and stuff like that. So you can go to our website and just order the poster. And we also have additional cheat sheets. Here is one example for Teams, for example. If you want to manage Teams with PowerShell, you can get this 8-page cheat sheet here as well from our website. So that would be something that you can do, and it really helps in your daily business working with PowerShell. So okay, why PowerShell? Why automate? Right? So maybe that's the first question. Well, automating, of course, it's about getting the job done, getting rid of recurring tasks, and PowerShell as a technology, it has been around for quite some time. The first version came out in 2006, so it's really pretty mature, and you can use it as a command line shell. You can also use it as a scripting language to automate all your tasks that you have on in your job for your infrastructure. And it's really a great framework to have a consistent way of automating and standardizing your recurring tasks. So really to simplify everything that comes to managing your infrastructure. And because of course we talk about Microsoft as the initial developer of PowerShell, but now with PowerShell 7, it's open source, so you have also other platforms that you can manage with it. So having the knowledge of using PowerShell is not just limited anymore to manage your Windows environment, but also other environments. And that's because we have this commitment for Microsoft, of course, but also from many vendors. And if we look at the PowerShell ecosystem, if you will, we have Microsoft, where you can use PowerShell to manage all their on-premises, all their cloud systems. On the other hand, you have major vendors like AWS, like Google, like Citrix, like VMware, that have their own PowerShell modules. So you can use your knowledge to also manage these systems. And of course, we have the community, where we have many people also creating PowerShell modules to manage certain things. And so giving this all together, it really means you have a great technology that allows you to automate all kinds of things. And you have this community where, like the one that Farrokh is orchestrating right here, which really is very helpful if you have questions about how to do things, and maybe also how to start using PowerShell and to start automating, which can be maybe sometimes it's a little bit challenging. And so what typically really helps to start using PowerShell and automating stuff is looking at your daily routines and to take a look at, okay, what are the things that you're doing over and over again, maybe multiple times a day. And then this is good, typically a very good indicator to say, okay, this is something that I should start to automate. So I can free up my time to do more things that are maybe more important, that maybe also more fun doing, and maybe to be more productive. And so looking at your daily tasks and to find out, okay, what are the 1, 2, 3 top recurring tasks, and then start to automate them, standardize them. And then that's what we're going to take a look at when we talk about ScriptRunner, is also to look at the possibility to take what you have done with PowerShell and also make it something that not just you are able to use, but something that you can delegate to others in a secure and easy way. So first off, I want to show you a few examples of how PowerShell natively can help you. And also the examples here, I tried to make them pretty basic. So also to just to show you that you don't have to be the absolutely PowerShell expert to start using it. And I have a few examples here. I want to talk about a little bit about managing Active Directory, and then also looking at things like Exchange or Exchange Online. And so for most of the things that you want to do with PowerShell, of course, you typically need to have the right module to start doing things with PowerShell. So in the case of Active Directory, I need the Active Directory module so that I can start doing things and connecting to my, in this case, to my Active Directory, to start maybe just getting some simple overview about my current users in my Active Directory, which is coming back here as a long text list of text, which of course you could also change into something using the alt grid view, where it's going to look like much nicer, because you can sort the view. You can, of course, based on PowerShell, you can decide what kind of information you need, you want to show in this report. And of course, it's here, right here, it's still a very simple one. But of course, using PowerShell and using the pipeline and using these one-liners helps you to really, start using PowerShell in a simple way, so you don't need to write the crazy big script to start using PowerShell. Sometimes it's really just some one or two liners that already help you to simplify your life. So like in this case, what you see here in line 33, it's about finding all my users where password never expires is set to true. And again, I want to get that into an alt grid view so I can easily sort and go through the list here. And so here I see all this information. So this is typically the starting point of, okay, we want to see what the current status is, in this case of my Active Directory. Maybe also sometimes I want to create a report that I can save as a CSV file, which you can do here. And by the way, I will also, some of the snippets are on my GitHub repo, and I will paste a link so that you can use this also in your environment if you want to in the future. And if so, you get some snippets that you can start with. All right, so getting some information is nice. Then at one point you might be then say, okay, now I also want to make changes to my configuration. For example, I want to set a particular parameter for a user, and maybe in a particular OU of my Active Directory. This is actually what happens here. So again, I'm looking for all my users where password expires is set to true, and then I'm changing that to false, for example, with a little for each loop. Again, it's just 2 lines of PowerShell, so it's not the huge script here, but I think it shows you the possibilities that you have. The same is true for things like creating new users or changing passwords of users, which of course you can do bit by bit for each user. But of course, then again, using PowerShell typically is something where you want to maybe want to do things more in a batch mode. So for example, here I would create new passwords for all my users in the NA organizational unit right here. And so I get this information back right here. Maybe also I want to, coming back also and looking at managing Active Directory, maybe you would like to take a look at, okay, which users didn't log in for quite some time. So that's what happens here in line 101 and 102, where I'm looking for users that have not logged in the last 30 days. And what I could do here as well is I could disable these accounts. So I'm looking for these users based on the properties, and then I'm disabling these users. But thanks to PowerShell, because before I actually do that, I maybe want to test what would happen if I would run that completely. And that's the nice thing about the what if parameter, because the what if parameter shows me what this PowerShell command or snippet would do. So it would disable these 3 users. And so if that's okay, of course, and I want to make this productive, so to speak, I could just comment that what if out, and then I'm doing that, and then it's really happening right away. So this what if, for example, is a very good way of testing the things that you're doing, and it pretty much works with all the Active Directory commandlets. It's not everywhere available, especially for Office 65. So that's something that you might want to check before. But so yeah, of course, creating new OUs, creating users from but based on a CSV file, for example, all the things you can easily do with PowerShell. Now switching gears a little bit, looking at Exchange. Or Exchange Online in this case, again, of course, we need to have the right module, which is the Exchange Online Management module in this case, and we need to connect to this backend system. So, of course, with all the things that we're doing with PowerShell, we need to have the permissions to do things, to create users, to delete groups, to change memberships and stuff like that. That, of course, typically applies to the IT pros and the admin people. So these are the people who are able to actually use PowerShell completely. So of course, we need the modules, we need to have the permissions, and then we can start doing again all kinds of stuff with Exchange. So we can get an overview about the existing mailboxes. Of course, we could also put them into an alt grid view, so we get a list. And as I talked about list, while I'm showing you this Exchange thing, I also want to show you something that you can do with PowerShell, which I think is pretty cool, because I have here an Active Directory report script, and this, if I run that might take a little bit, but in the meantime, we can go through the examples of Exchange Online, and then we come back and I will show you the result, because this is something that really is helpful, for example, to get an overview about your infrastructure. And coming back to Exchange Online here, again, of course, you can get all this information about your mailboxes, about the message tracing, the permissions, the team memberships and the group memberships and stuff like that. And again, of course, creating new users. So again, PowerShell is here to help you to automate all kinds of tasks that, instead of going to the GUI and clicking through an interface, and maybe if you want to do this 5 times, then you forgot to click a checkbox, and then all of a sudden the user is created differently. With PowerShell, number one, it's always going to happen exactly how you did it and how you wrote it in PowerShell, and you are not depending on the UI, which is especially interesting and helpful. I see that, at least in the cloud world, because sometimes the vendors are changing the functions, moving from tab A to tab B, and then you're like, okay, where is now this function? And if you have it in PowerShell, you exactly know how to use the command line, and you're good to go. So here we have this Active Directory report that I just created based on PowerShell, plus an additional PowerShell module, which is called Report HTML, which you can find on the PowerShell gallery. And that is really something that can be extremely helpful, because it gives you an overview about your groups, your computers, your users. You can see also, for example, users, again, that have not logged in for a particular period of time. So this is really something that you might not even think about if you think about PowerShell, that you could create something like this. And of course, now I did that manually. But of course, this is the typical case also for doing things in a scheduled way. We say, okay, I want to have this report every week, so I know what kind of users, what kind of changes I had in my environment. And so this is, again, something that, of course, you can simply just run based on a PowerShell script automatically. And that, again, is something that I think shows you how great it is to use PowerShell and to automate your daily tasks, creating reports, managing your infrastructures. And again, coming back to the fact that we're talking about, of course, all the Microsoft platforms, but we also talk about all other platforms that are out there: Citrix, VMware, AWS, Google Cloud, and so on. So this is, I think, really that is just a few examples just to show you the things that you can do with PowerShell. Now, the interesting question comes up, like, okay, you are into PowerShell and you have created a few scripts or a few one-liners or two-liners, and then at one point you say, okay, wouldn't it be cool if somebody needs to create a new user or needs a new VM, or somebody wants me to change a group membership, if that's something that I could delegate maybe to someone in help desk, or maybe even to a person in the line of business. And typically that's an issue because, number one, okay, you typically don't really want to teach everybody how PowerShell works in help desk or line of business users. And of course, even more important, you would not give these people privileged permissions to become global admin in your AD, in your Exchange infrastructure, in your VMware infrastructure. And so that's typically where you have these limitations when it comes to using PowerShell, which brings us back to the presentation, a little bit to talk about that. Because what we see quite often, the way that PowerShell is being used, if we try to look at this from a picture perspective, it could be like this. So you have all kinds of scripts, tools all over the place, and they're stored in OneDrive, locally, in emails, in shares, or whatever. And it becomes very difficult to make sure that I'm using the right script, the latest script, to creating a new user or to manage my environment. And so the idea of ScriptRunner is to change this into something that's well organized, where you exactly know this is the script I want to use to start an onboarding process, or to create VMs, or to change permissions and stuff like that. And also to be able to give this to someone else, again, coming back to the help desk scenario. And so what we're talking about here is standardizing the way you're using PowerShell to make sure everybody uses the right version of a PowerShell script. And one of the key aspects here is centralization, bringing everything that you need to run your scripts into a central place. The scripts, the modules, the credentials, and the connections to your backend system. So of course, we're talking about security here as well. And then we talk about the simplicity aspect of being able to give these use cases to someone who is not into PowerShell. And so one of the things that we are doing is we are automatically translating a PowerShell script that you see here on the left side into a simple input form, where if you look on the right side, there is nothing that somebody needs to know about PowerShell. It's really just about a few input parameters where people can select stuff and you decide what they're allowed to select, and then they're good to go. So this is really where it comes to make it easy to work with PowerShell without even knowing that it's PowerShell in the background. And because we're doing everything centrally, all these activities can be monitored, so you can see what script has been triggered. And there's actually 3 ways of triggering. One is interactive by a user. The second one could be scheduled, which is typically something that helps for the housekeeping processes, creating reports. And the third one is using integration connectors, where you can also allow other systems like workflow systems, ITSM systems, to trigger scripts also in a centralized way. And so what we're doing, it all starts with centralizing your scripts and your modules. They're at a central place. This is where all the scripts that should be used are stored. Second step, credential management. We need to have a secure way to manage the credentials that we need to connect to AD, to Exchange, to VMware, for example. And that can be done with the credential store, Microsoft Windows Credential Store, or it can be done based on password servers that are being used to take these credentials and to enable users to, or enable ScriptRunner to establish connections to the backend system based on the credentials that come from password walls. So another aspect of having a secure way of using PowerShell here, of course. And then when we talk about permissions, if you use PowerShell together with ScriptRunner, it's always ScriptRunner who's executing the script, who needs to have access to the scripts, to the modules, to the credentials in the backend system. And the users here on the left side can be just normal domain users. They don't need to have any access to the backend system, and they don't need to have any privileged permissions to the systems, because you decide in ScriptRunner based on the delegation what these users should be able to do. Again, like, creating users, VMs, changing configurations and stuff like that. And so coming back to the simplicity aspect, we have this forms that we build automatically, which also allows you to decide what should be visible to these users. So you can really bring this down to what is really necessary for the user. And then step by step, you can start delegating all kind of tasks to these people, maybe junior admins, help desk people, and end users. And again, of course, you could also enable other systems to work with that. Now, how does that look like? So let me go back to my environment here, and let's start looking into our ScriptRunner portal from the aspect of someone who is part of the help desk team. So here I'm logged in as a help desk person, and what I can do, I can see two tiles here. One allows me to actually run actions, as we call them, and the other one allows me to see reports of already executed actions, so I can go back to the things that I've done before. So if I click on run, I can see all the actions that I can trigger. For example, I have enabled here this user to create this Active Directory report. And for example, what I also can do is here in the description to say, depending on the action that you have, you can integrate some help for these users if they don't know exactly what happens here. So they can, for example, they can go to a website, or they could directly create an email if they want to ask questions, for example, about this particular action. And so and what I can do now, and this will take a little bit, so we will just jump to another action here, but I will just click on run here, and I will open up the portal again, and we will come back to the result once this report has been created. So of course, other use cases that are also relevant, of course, could be things like password reset, or things like managing Exchange out of office notifications, or all kinds of other use cases, creating new VMs and stuff like that. And so here you can see it is really, really easy to work with this input, because the thing that you can do here, you can select, for example, in this case, you can select the users. This is an out of office scenario. You can select a template, and because we have a date time parameter, it's automatically been translated into a date picker. Again, makes it easy for the user to work with. And then I can run this action. Now, it can be even easier. I want to show you this as well. So because I could integrate these use cases into every website that you may be already running, like a self-service portal, for example. So here I have a website where I have integrated the possibility to reset a password. And depending on the scope of this particular user, it could be a scenario where I can select an OU, and based on my selection, I see the users of this OU. And if I'm changing the OU here, also the list of my users changes. Or, so this would be a scenario for somebody who has a global scope, is allowed to do things for all users. Then in another use case, maybe somebody is only responsible for users, in this case for the OU UK. So there is no way to select an OU, because this person would be only responsible for this user. So here I only see the users that I'm really responsible for, and then I can work with that. And but by doing this, or having this possibility, you can integrate all kinds of use cases into as a front end to your websites. And that's really, again, coming back to the simplicity aspect, something that everybody can use, right? That's really, really very, very simple. And it's really about, I mean, the limitation really here is it possible to do things with a PowerShell script in a module? And if that's the case, you can take all these use cases and integrate them into ScriptRunner. And that brings us now to the, of course, to the admin aspect of the solution. So this is kind of a few examples of how the front end looks like. And maybe before we move on, okay, we go back to the portal here, and we can see, okay, this is here feedback that comes back from creating this out of office for the user. And right here, so this is the report that we just saw that I created before in my previous demo natively in PowerShell. And here it's of course also done by PowerShell in the background. But for me as a user, I didn't know, I don't have to run any PowerShell script. I'm just clicking on the run button, and then this report is being created for me. Very simple thing. Okay, coming back to the admin aspect here. One thing is, of course, all these activities can be monitored in the reports. So here I am the administrator now, and I can see that, for example, this user Tina started 2 different actions, and I can click on that. I can see the details. I can see the parameters that have been used. I can see the detailed report about what's actually what happened on the PowerShell level in the background. So, and of course, if things go wrong, you can say, okay, I want to see all the things where some executions didn't work. I can go to the messages to analyze what went wrong. And that's because we have this centralized approach, right? So all the execution of scripts are done here centrally, and we can have this nice report, this nice dashboard that helps you to get the whole overview about all the activities around PowerShell. Now, to make this work, now I'm switching to the admin app. We need to have the scripts, right? So as I said, it all starts with the script. So here I have all my 1200 something scripts that I have here on my machine. We can also allow, or you can also allow specific users to also modify scripts in the browser. So no need to have any add-ons for ISE or for VS Code. So here, for example, I can take a look at a script. I can take a look at the code. I can check out and check in scripts. I can make changes to the script. I can see the history of changes. So I can go through the different versions, and I can also see what has actually been changed. I can go back to the previous version if I want to do that. So this is very helpful if you're not already using things like GitHub to manage your script. So this allows you to have also a team approach of working together on particular scripts. Then the second step is we need to have the credentials. Credentials to be able to connect to your backend system. And then we have what we call targets. And the targets are the actual systems that we want to manage. For example, Active Directory, if you want to connect to your domain controller. So what we do here, we tell ScriptRunner that's the machine that we want to manage. And this is going to be the credential that we're going to use. And by having this in the configuration, I don't need to have this information anywhere near the scripts. And so that is true for all kinds of systems, no matter if it's on-premises, if it's in the cloud. We are bringing all and managing all this logistics information in ScriptRunner, so you don't have to worry about all these things in your scripts. And then that brings us to what we call the actions, because the actions are bringing together all these different bits and pieces. So, for example, looking at what we've done just now with just simply creating this out of office notification for Exchange or Exchange Online. If I'm looking at this in the edit mode, we can see these are the parameters that we have, and we see that there are parameters that we didn't see as a user, and that's because you can configure this parameters as you want it, as your default behavior, and then you say, I hide it from the input form, so the user doesn't have to worry about it, and the user is not able to change it. A very important step to simplify the way that users are working with it and giving you the possibility, like, okay, how that particular parameter should be used. And then what we also see is we saw two lists in this use case. We could pick a list of mailboxes, and we could pick a list of notification. That's based on the queries, and that's very important and very helpful as well, because instead of just simply having a simple text field where everybody could type any kind of crazy stuff, you could say, no, we want to have this again in a standardized way. So instead of having just a text field, I have this list that I can provide to the users. And these lists might be different for different users with different scopes. But that's something that you manage according to your standard approach. And so and then of course, once you have configured that, you can say, okay, now I want to delegate this action to particular users. We're talking about AD groups, we're talking about Azure AD groups typically, where you decide what kind of use case a particular user should be allowed to work with. And then of course, these actions also can be configured as a scheduled action. So you could say, okay, this report I want to have every Friday, or I want this to create every day, or maybe only on particular days, and then I want to get an information if something goes wrong with this execution, which means here you could simply centralize your Windows task scheduler things that maybe happen on dozens of machines, and you never know if they're really working or not. So you could take this again also into ScriptRunner and centralize that and manage it in a proper and secure way. And then of course, having this scheduled approach, plus you have this interactive approach. And then last but not least, you could also say, okay, I also want to allow, for example, a monitoring system or an ITSM system to trigger these scripts in a fully automatic way. In case of a monitoring system, this scenario typically is there is a sensor that detects an error. And if the solution is run a script to maybe restart a service or maybe enhancing a VM or stuff like that, then the system is talking to ScriptRunner, telling us which script should be triggered, what are the parameters, and what are the parameter values. And again, everything ends up in this centralized dashboard and gives you the complete control about the things that happens with or in your infrastructure environment. All right, so this brings us back to the presentation. Just to sum up what we looked at is really like we are taking this great technology, which PowerShell is, and put ScriptRunner on top to really make it something that ideally the whole organization can benefit from without the need of these people being and the need to be a PowerShell expert. You decide what they're allowed to do, and that happens in a secure way. So to sum it up, we are standardized all and automate and delegate of recurring tasks. You can trigger this scripts interactively, scheduled, and event-driven. We have a comprehensive monitoring and reporting possibility, so you always know what's happening. We have a centralized way of managing the scripts and modules and a secure credential management. And we create this user-friendly web form in an automatic way, so there is no need to have any additional coding. We're just looking into the script, into your synopsis, and into your parameter block to automatically create this user interface. Now, if you like what you saw and you want to test it yourself, again, you can go to our website. You can get this 30-day free trial where all the functionality is available. If you have individual use cases and you would like to discuss this with me, I would be very happy to do that. So you can book an online session with me so we can talk about that in an individual session and maybe talk about your requirements and maybe your security requirements and stuff like that. Again, I would be very happy to do that. And with this, I am at the end of my session. And I think now we have some time for questions. And I think we already have some questions.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Heiko, very much for the clearance. I mean, the clarity of explanation. Uh,
Welcome.
Actually, we do have one question. One question from Faiz. He was talking about. Uh, okay, let me just uh, uh, read his question, and maybe even both of us can answer it. So he's saying that he would like to automate sending emails, okay, where the subject show a current date, okay, okay, etc. Is this possible? Yes, well, okay. Before even we talk about, I mean, this is possible in two ways. It is possible from PowerShell natively, okay, and it is possible even through. You can make it more fancier and more easy, and let other users use it by uh, schedule it in ScriptRunner, and you can see, as you saw, and in the presentation, I think Heiko can even you showed us how you can see the reports of the about each task. If the
Yeah.
task fail, it succeeded, all those things, and I think we almost finished. We finished now 41 minutes, so we can wait for what do you think, Heiko? We can wait for a few more questions, or
Yeah. Sure.
okay.
And just to also
Hmm,
comment on your
hmm,
answer, it's absolutely you can do this with.
hmm,
I mean, you just take the get date parameter
hmm,
and
hmm.
put it into a variable, and then you use
Yes.
the send mail
Hmm,
commandlet in PowerShell.
hmm,
So you can do that, and then of course
hmm,
once you have it in your script, you could put it
hmm,
into ScriptRunner, and you can use it
hmm,
for even if you have, let's say, just a scenario that also involves emails that we have quite often is, for example, somebody is requesting a
hmm,
report, clicks on a tile, and so we, our ScriptRunner knows the name of the user who
hmm.
clicked on the child. So we can translate that into the user and to the email address, and then can say, okay, we send this report automatically with the right subject and the right body to this particular person who has requested that, maybe by in an interactive approach.
Okay, Faiz also have another question, which is a little bit. It has some interesting point actually. He's saying that he wants to install patches on 5 servers simultaneously. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is where the part, because installing patches. Yeah, let me just finish the question. The cumulative patches will be saved at a network location. Is this possible using your tool? So, Haiku, you want me to answer some part of it, or you want to answer the whole question?
I can answer it.
Okay.
So number one, there are two options. One thing is you could do it. You could completely do it in the script and integrate it into ScriptRunner. Or what you can do, and maybe that's a good idea to maybe switch back to to the interface here, because you could create multiple targets, which would be your systems. And then you could say, I put these systems into a target collection. So let's say that could be all the servers that I want to patch. And then I put all these servers in this one collection. And then later on, I'm just selecting this target collection, saying, okay, I want to deploy this patch on all the machines that are part of this target collection, which means, let's say you use this target in 10 different use
Mhm,
cases, and you want to add or remove
mhm,
maybe systems. You just do that at one single place, which would be right here, and then ScriptRunner already knows and immediately knows, okay, now the next time we run, that should happen on all these machines that are now part of that patch target. And of course, if the sources to what the things that you want to deploy are on a network share, that's no problem as long as ScriptRunner has the permissions to access the source data so that we can actually use that to deploy the software.
Yes, so if I is just adding to what Haiku just explained, consider ScriptRunner, and Haiku can also correct me if I'm wrong. Consider ScriptRunner as a tool which extend the ability of PowerShell. Like as Haiku mentioned, you have a lots of power in the sheets in the slides. He mentioned that okay, uh, you have a lots of PowerShell scripts, which is good. Okay, you're a person who can write down PowerShell scripts, which is good. But but you have some issues. W- when you have a lots of scripts, maintaining those scripts, and you're the only one who knows how to use the scripts. You're the only one who knows PowerShell. After some time, this will become a problem for you. So you're not able to explain it to your teammates, to your colleagues. You're not able to give the ability to people who are in other departments like help desk or desktop engineers, or to utilize these scripts, because they don't they don't know PowerShell. Secondly, they cannot use you cannot give them privileges to run those scripts. So ScriptRunner gives you this ability. Whatever knowledge, whatever scripts you have, uh, that PowerShell scripts. So ScriptRunner will expose it to other people, okay, securely, without giving them, permissions. And they don't need to know PowerShell. Actually, they don't need to know what's running in the background. You just give them a portal, okay, and based on whatever you configure to them, they can run the scripts that you configure to them. So yes, basically, whatever you want to do, whatever you have as a PowerShell script, you can just expose it as a service, through the script runner. So hopefully, this answered, clarified your concerns, and your questions. By the way, Haiku, I love the, one part I loved is at the beginning, the highway to Shell, actually, the reference. That was a lovely.
Yeah, so you can sense what one of my favorite music bands actually is, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
obviously
actually,
ACDC.
the reference to ACDC was actually, yeah, and even the S actually showed in that photo. The S was like, in the same font of ACDC. That one
Yeah.
was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely. So what I did just now, also for people who are maybe still in the session, and I will post it on Twitter as well. I posted the link to my GitHub repo where you can find the presentation
Mm-hmm,
plus the links to all the different things like
mm-hmm,
the PowerShell poster,
mm-hmm,
and also the um, the example of the example snippets for Active Directory and
mm-hmm,
for Exchange. So
mm-hmm.
if you want to just go for that and look for this information, you can get it there as well.
Yeah, and I think now it's almost 50 minutes, so I think 50 minutes is enough,
Yeah.
for everyone. Yeah, for everyone to digest. So just before I wrap this, if You can see if you have any questions about the community, you can just reach me on the WhatsApp or on the YouTube channel. You can reach me on my LinkedIn profile, uh, which I will mention here in the comments. And if you want to reach, if you want to know more about, ScriptRunner and the possibilities, everything about ScriptRunner, you can reach Heiko. It is very easy to reach Heiko. Actually, you can just, even if you didn't catch the Twitter, his Twitter account, you can just simply go to ScriptRunner website and schedule a meeting, and he will be there with you for sure.
Absolutely. Would love
Yeah.
to do that.
Yes. So thank you everyone for attending, and I think this is the end of our session. So thank you, Heiko, for having preparing this for us, and giving us from your time to explaining you know all the good stuff.
Thank you, Farouk. Thanks everybody for joining.
Okay. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.